We talked about evaluating your life, the supporter, the supplanter, the sent, and the sender. Those are the characters that we're going to be looking at through this study. And we looked at the supporter last week, Gaius, whom the letter is written to. John, the elder, writes to this one who he loves in the truth. Gaius was a man whose soul prospered. He had good spiritual health. And so we talked about him and that he was a supporter. He supported the missionaries that were coming to his area, being sent by John and from John's church. He didn't ask questions. They were strangers. All he knew is that their message was true. It was the right message. They were preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so he showed them hospitality. His church supported them and sent them on their way. And John commends him for that. And then we pick up the story in verse 9 today. And we're going to be talking about another character, but one who does not have a glowing report like Gaius. This is Diotrephes. And we're going to call him D. D, the supplanter that loves to rule. Verse 9 of 3 John says, I wrote something to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them, does not accept what we say. For this reason, if I come, I will call attention to his deeds, which he does, unjustly accusing us with wicked words. And not satisfied with this, he himself does not receive the brethren either. And he forbids those who desire to do so, and he puts them out of the church. This is the supplanter that we're going to be talking about. D is not a very good guy. He has a few issues, and we're going to look at those today. John has just finished commending Gaius for helping missionaries who came to his church. And in the very next sentence, he gives an example of this gentleman who must have been in the same area as Gaius. Gaius would have known of him because he doesn't give us any other information about D. He just simply says that D did this, and like Gaius is supposed to know that. And so we assume that this is somewhere, some church, sister church in the area of where Gaius is, and John is discussing this man with him. For this reason, he says in verse 10, if I come, I will call attention to his deeds, which he does. I wrote something to the church, is that first part of verse 9. John has contacted by letter this church where D is either the pastor of or a lay leader of some sort. He has some type of authority, or at least all of the church listens to him, whether he has the authority or not. And John says, I wrote something to the church, but he either didn't let them read it, or he disagreed, did not accept what we say. That's all that is mentioned there. But look at this man, D, today, who loves to be first among them. That's kind of the main characteristic of this gentleman. He loves to be first. We would probably call this pride, right? I desire to be first. It's a very interesting phrase, but it is the crux of everything. This is the reason why D is supplanting the ministry efforts of John's church, and why John is commending Gaius for not being like this other church. He loves to be first among them. This is actually the only time this specific word is used in the New Testament. This phrase, loves to be first. It's actually two Greek words put together. The word love, phileo, and the word preeminence, right? So he loves to be the preeminent one. That's really the idea here. He wants to be the head. He wants to be the boss of bosses. You've heard that phrase, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, this is an example of this. This gentleman has power in his church, and he doesn't want anyone usurping his authority, even the Apostle John. I mean, one of the guys who walked with Jesus, who was blessed by the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, who has done ministry and has planted churches, John writes a letter, and he doesn't even want to hear it. He doesn't listen to it. I don't know about you guys, but man, if one of the apostles wrote me a personal letter, I would probably pay attention to it. This guy walked with Jesus, literally. And yet he wants preeminence. He loves preeminence. He loves to be the top guy. It's interesting that word preeminence is used in Colossians chapter 1, verse 18, where it says he, referring to Christ, is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he himself will come to have first place, preeminence in everything. Right? And so this idea of preeminence, we need to set the record straight. No one is the head other than Christ. Christ is the head. He is the preeminent one. He is the one that is in control of our church. He has the authority in our church. He has the authority over John's church, over Gaius' church. Right? He is the chief shepherd, as the scriptures call him. That word shepherd, pastor. He's the head pastor. He is the chief elder. He is the preeminent one. And so John uses this description. Diotrephes wants to be the preeminent one. He wants to take Christ's place as the head of the church.